It's
Enlightening is putting it mildly.
enlightening.
Several years ago, there was a lady in San Antonio area who saw something she didn't like
Can't hear
and
you.
got worried and started studying.
We can't hear you.
It's really loud up here.
Well,
They're back there.
come this way.
Is that better? Is that better? Can you hear me now?
Addressing me.
So, hey. Anyway, this person is a citizen activist, and what that means is they don't have a dog in the hunt. There's nothing in this for her except freedom. And not necessarily freedom for her, but freedom for her children and her children's children. That's what we're all doing here. Now, I want to introduce to you a powerhouse, a homeschooling mother of 9. Number 9 is right over there. Who has been spending time every year at commission meetings, in the legislature, talking to legislators, working on her website, and speaking to other groups. Ladies and gentlemen, Terri Hall.
Tammy, and I'm so delighted to be here up from the Texas Hill Country. I actually live just north of San Antonio because San Antonio is far too liberal for us. So we're in the Hill Country, the front porch to the Texas Hill Country, and I'm just delighted to be with all of you here today. So I wanted to go over, let me get my remote to make it a little bit easier, but I want to go over transportation policy with y'all a little bit. Now normally this is kind of those yawner, sleeper issues. We all kind of just take it for granted. We don't really think much about it. It's not as hot like immigration and, of course, that Wendy Davis filibuster and all those things that are far more exciting to most of us. But once these roadways get taken from us through various policies, then all of a sudden we realize how much freedom is slipping away and how fast it slips from us. So I just wanted to share with you a little bit of the background of how we kind of got into this mess. I'm going to go through some specific legislation. I have been advocating on behalf of taxpayers, as Tammy said, as a citizen advocate, volunteer. I predate the Tea Parties, for instance. Been doing this now for 10 years of my life, going up to that legislature in Austin, and studying all the bills. And unlike a lot of our representatives, I actually read the bills before they pass them, and we give them bulletins and try and tell them, wait, there's some bad stuff in here. So I'm going to go through a little bit of the legislative history, and then I'm going to also go into solutions, what we feel are pro-taxpayer solutions, because we don't want to just be, I'll do a little bit of that, but we also want to be about solutions, right? Put forward some good things that we think could be a good reform. Well, let's start with, how are roads funded? Okay, well, we all know we pay a gas tax, right? We have a state gas tax that's 20 cents a gallon. It's been the same for 20 years. It has not been indexed to inflation. It doesn't change when the price of gas goes up or down. So it's been fixed for a long, long time. We also pay a federal gas tax, which is 18.4 cents a gallon, and it also has not been raised or indexed to inflation in any way for at least 20 years. So, in essence, we've been trying to build today's roads with a 20-year-old revenue stream. So obviously the math isn't adding up so well. Back in the day, we had a surplus, and they used that surplus on some other things, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. But instead of dealing with that gas tax problem, they've turned to massive borrowing and tolls. Pretty much tolling everything that moves. I'm sure you all have seen that if you travel into the Metroplex at all. All right, so 47% of our state gasoline tax is now not getting to roads. It's being diverted to other things. The biggest chunk is to public education. Did y'all know that? 25% of our state gasoline tax by constitutional mandate goes to public schools. That's about $750 million a year right off the top that doesn't get to roads. Then on top of that, we've had a very undisciplined legislature who's been raiding the pie, and now we're up to almost half of our state gasoline tax that is not getting to roads. Well, this is not a good thing. Now, Speaker Strauss announced just a few months ago that he's going to end this 80-year practice of diverting road funds to non-road purposes in the 2015 budget. He said he's going to introduce a budget. But he was very carefully worded in that press release because it's not going to address that 25% that goes to schools. It would take a change in the Constitution to do that. And so he didn't want to take that fight on, I suppose. So it will be difficult now to get any money away from schools with that school funding court decision. I'm sure you heard about that right before the Labor Day weekend. The courts are saying that our schools are funded unconstitutionally, blah, 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 that we're not funding them right. And so there's going to be a big fight about school funding. So it really is going to be a tough battle if we're thinking about trying to get that money back to roads. But there are some other solutions down the road that we'll talk about that I think have a lot of good potential. All right, now the bummer is we are in a sea of red ink in Texas. Now, we used to be pay as you go. That means that we didn't build the road if we didn't have the cash in hand to pay for it. No debt. We were 100% debt free before Governor Terri took office. On his watch, sadly on the Republican legislature, we now lead the country in road debt. Highest road debt in the country. And some of these New England liberal states have been issuing debt for our lifetimes. And we now exceed even their debt load. So that's really staggering for what we're supposed to be a fiscally conservative state. Then, in one of the 2011 budget in particular, we're even borrowing money for road maintenance. We're borrowing money to maintain our roads. I mean, this is really bad if this is where we're at with road funding. Okay, so it's obviously created the easy way out for most of our elected leaders is to toll things because they think they can kind of offload that tax hike to unelected toll boards, and those tend to be more localized. So they basically just kick the can down to the local level, which any of you local government folks in here, I know there's a county commissioner here and some others, this is not what you all like. You don't like the state passing on an unfunded mandate to you. So the legislature's not properly funding our state highway system, and now they're asking the locals to pick up the tab and the dirty work of raising the tax by implementing all these toll roads everywhere, all over the state. And these are not traditional turnpikes like we've seen in the past in Houston and Dallas. Those were completely new roads, right? They were like greenfield projects is what we call them. There were no taxpayer money involved, no subsidies. The money and control stayed with Texas. And we think a well-conceived toll road would take toll off the road when it's paid for. Amen? Yeah. Right? We don't want perpetual tolls, right? I mean, that's crazy. So now what we're seeing is they're putting tolls on our existing roads that we've already paid for. And so that's a huge double tax. Anytime that our road is built with gas tax money, now you're going to charge us a toll to drive on that or to use that right-of-way that our gas tax is already paid for. Well, then that's double taxation. And they're using a ton of taxpayer money to now support the toll roads, meaning we're having tax-supported toll roads. They're bailing them out, they're building them with them, and they're guaranteeing the loans with our gas tax money. That's how bad it's getting. So we've had a fight now going, at least as long as I've been involved, because they wanted to come in and take my only way into and out of San Antonio, Highway 281. It actually goes all the way from the border of Laredo all the way up to Canada, U.S. Highway 281. And so they want to come in and toll this road. Every lane I drive on today would become a toll lane. And they want to downgrade my free lanes to frontage roads. That's what they've been trying to do to us. So we've had 2 lawsuits and a big fight going on for a long time. Well, there's a section of the statute that we're going to go over here in detail in a minute, and I'll tell you why. It's really important what they put in these bills, as you can imagine, because it can be very small little words in there that make a big difference. So this last session, SB 1029, passed. Now we had a bill go in, both the Senate and the House, be introduced, that was going to clean up the loopholes that are in the statute. For a long time, they've been telling us you can't toll existing roads, right? I mean, we even heard it in the gubernatorial debates way back in the last election when Governor Perry ran against Medina and Hutchison. So in that debate, they were saying, oh no, you can't do that. But when you look at the statute, which is what I do, there's a bunch of loopholes in there that let them virtually toll anything they want. So we're going to go into that so you can see what this is. Well, we finally had a clean bill a clean bill filed where they took all those loopholes out of statute. But then it got watered down and it got passed through with a bunch more loopholes in there, and the one loophole they took out was the public vote. So that's not an improvement, that's worse, yeah. Right? Okay, so Senator Nichols has been a key player, as you all probably know, because you know him. He's a former transportation commissioner. And he's been doing that since the late 90s, early 2000s. Then he became a senator in 2007. Well, actually, the original statute about the tolling on existing roads was written by Senator Nichols back when he was a transportation commissioner. So I wanted to bring you through a couple of things because he's introduced every session, except for this last one, but for 3 sessions before that, something to tweak the language about this statute that he wrote. The current law has loopholes, but this is what it used to say as well, way back when he wrote it. And we'll just read it right here. It says the department may not operate a non-tolled state highway or segment of a non-tolled state highway as a toll project. And they also can't transfer a part of the highway or segment to another entity to convert it into a toll road. Then you see the word in red, unless. And that's where all the loopholes start to come in, right? So let's look at a couple of them. Unless the project was designated as a toll project in a plan of a metropolitan planning organization, which there's 25 of those around the state of Texas, before September 1st, 2005. So when this bill passed, this was written by Senator Nichols when he was a commissioner, when it passed, it basically grandfathered in every toll project that was already on the books, because pretty much nothing gets done unless it's in an MPO plan. So they grandfathered in everything. Well, at that point in time, there was a huge bill that passed in 2003 that virtually turned everything into a toll road. So this really didn't help us because now everything was grandfathered in, no matter what the statute said. Then if you look at number 4 there, remember the word was unless the highway or segment is reconstructed so that the number of non-toll lanes on the highway is greater than or equal to the number in existence before they reconstruct the highway. Well, that may sound good, but I'll tell you why in a minute. It's not so good. Another loophole. Or unless a facility is constructed adjacent to the highway or segment so that the number of non-toll lanes on the converted highway and the adjacent facility together is greater than or equal to in number as those that existed before the converted highway. Okay, so it sounds kind of convoluted. I apologize for that, but you know how this statutes can be. And then another one that talks about unless the department transfers a high occupancy vehicle lane can be turned into a toll lane. And number 6 there also talks about how the highway or segment was open to traffic as an HOV lane. So basically this is talking about how they can convert existing free HOV lanes into toll lanes. So there's just lots of loopholes in this, as you can tell. And we feel like we need to have a clean bill. This is what we've been trying to do for 10 years. Is keep it clean. We feel no Texan should have to pay a toll for lanes that were once free. Right? I mean, this seems kind of like basic, right? Well, what's happened is TxDot has interpreted that language I just read to you about the number of toll lanes before and after, or number of free lanes before and after. They take that to mean, and we've had this on camera in a Sunset Commission hearing in the legislature, where the legislature said, well, what don't you get about we told you can't toll existing main lanes of a highway? And the TxDot executive director said back, well, that's not our interpretation. So they take it to mean, this is what they take it to mean, they can toll your existing main lanes and leave you frontage road as your new non-toll option. So they're downgrading your free option to an access road and taking away your highway main lanes. Well, to me, that's highway robbery. That's not a good deal. So they've already set a precedent with this. It's happened on parts of State Highway 130. How many of you have heard about that toll road that's going belly up? All right, over there around Austin. It's supposed to be a bypass to I-35. Some of you may have taken it, but it's usually empty. If you've taken it, you know. Well, part of that section of highway that overlays in Lockhart, you know, barbecue capital of Texas, or at least that's their claim, right? You probably have some great barbecue up here, too. But there's parts of that highway. 183 was their freeway through Lockhart. They have now come in and put that as a foreign-owned toll road to the Spanish company named Sintra and downgraded that highway to frontage roads. And they lowered the speed limit on the free road while they increased the speed limit on the tollway. So we are being seriously manipulated here with the way that they're interpreting these loopholes in this statute. They've also done it on these other highways that you see there, and of course they're trying to do it on Highway 281 in San Antonio. So Senator Nichols inserted some new loopholes in the 2011 bill that he put forward, which was SB 220. And this was actually going to make sure that they could do exactly what TxDot said their interpretation was, which is downgrade your free lanes to frontage roads by inserting some language. So here's that unless, we already read the first part before. This is the inserted language. Unless a facility has access, function, and control devices, similar to the converted highway as afterwards. So what this means, like on 281, for instance, we have a divided highway. And I'm sure there's plenty in this area as well, because tends to be one of the first generations of highways that they build. Then they put in stoplights at your crossovers, because people, as they start to cross over and it gets to have more traffic, they can get killed trying to cross the highway. So they put in stoplights. So any highway that's signalized, this language would give them permission to convert those lanes into toll lanes when they come in and put overpasses in, and leave your frontage road as your non-toll option forever. So that means that if you've got stoplights on your highway now, you're going to have stoplights on your free option for the rest of your life. You're never going to get improvements to your highways without having to pay a toll too. So this was really bad language, and it's been put in several bills through the years. We actually killed that bill because of that language. And then this is what happened. This is what happened in 2013. As you saw, they removed that public vote. This is supposed to have a strike through that down there, that's the section that they took out of the bill. Well, we didn't think that was so good. He actually got that language we just read into a bill, SB 1253, and we killed that bill in 2013. He would not let the clean bill out of his committee, and then he directed my senator, this is what really hurt, he was my own senator, to insert some of his language that removed that public vote. So after successfully killing all these attempts for 10 years, and we were trying to get our clean bill through, they actually used my own senator against me and killed the public vote. So that's not good. Then here's some other bills that passed. We're going to start with 2013, and I'll go back a couple of sessions so you know what's been going on. We had a toll tax tsunami happen in 2013, and prior to that too. SB 1110 was also authored by Senator Nichols. This actually allows them now to capture property tax to subsidize toll roads. That's a huge double tax too. If you're going to build a road with property tax, then it should be a free road, right? I mean, why would we build it with tax money and then charge us the toll again? So that was really bad. We tried to stop that bill. Then there was another one that he authored, SB 1730. It allows 21 of our Texas highways to be handed over to these private foreign corporations, just like that failing State Highway 130 around Austin that Centra operates. 21. So I want to tell you what these public-private partnerships involve.